Hi, so I'm Ashley. Most people call me Ash. I'm a software development trainer at Maiden Academy in Bath. Recently, I was just browsing the internet, wasting time, and I came across a blog post by a guy called, Dave Childs, called "If PHP Were British," where he kind of laid out some problems that we face in our day-to-day lives as British PHP developers. So the main problems really are the heavy use of Americanized English. I'm probably not the only person that now just naturally spells colour without a U and uses like Zs all the time when I should be using Ss. And it gets quite annoying and all my friends make fun of me for it. And it's just overly terse and impolite and not very British. So Dave's original article was just like a list of problems and some proposed solutions. And I was so inspired that I decided to have a pretty shoddy attempt at making a reality. So the features, the solution is a new proposed file type, which is .gbphp, which stands for, obviously, Great British PHP. It comes with a really simple command line compiler, itself written in gbphp. It lets you compile your gbphp code into vanilla PHP, so you don't have to have a different PHP version or anything weird. You can actually use it to modernize your existing PHP applications by decompiling them into gbphp. And obviously, it heavily features the Queen's English. So we have a look at some problems. So variable declaration. Dave Childs, the original author, described the use of the $sign as a slap in the face to PHP developers. You can see it's making this poor lady feel rather unwell. So the solution for this one is really quite obvious. We switched to the $sign. You might also notice that we've replaced echo with announce. It's just a little bit more grand, a little bit more fitting for British PHP. Next up, we have if statements. They're not too bad. They're just a bit cold, a bit robotic, a bit to the point. I think we can do better than this in our new version of PHP. So I introduced the perchance otherwise statement. Much more friendly, much more welcoming, much more British. Next up we have switches. I agree with Ian. I hate switches. I think they're ugly and clunky. You've got switches, cases, breaks, default. We're also handling an exception here. So we're going to ditch the switch and we're going to switch to the what about block. Cases are now perhaps. The horrible breaks are now splendids. The default case has been replaced with on the off chance. And I think maybe my favourite of all is replacing an exception with a wobbly. Because there is nothing more British than throwing a wobbly. And actually, it turns out that there are loads of GIFs and images of Ian Beale being very sad, but very few of him being happy. Which made me a bit sad, really. The for each, again, this one's not too bad. It's just a bit unfriendly and a bit blunt. I think we can do better than the for each. So we've introduced the merry-go-round. We've got try-catch blocks. These are really the same problem as everything else. They're very robotic. They're quite boring. It just try-catch. It makes sense, but it could be better. And obviously, we're handling an exception. You can probably guess that is now a wobbly. But the try-catch has been replaced with the would you mind, actually, I do mind block. And we're no longer working with horrible Americanized exceptions, and we're dealing with the wonderfully British wobbly. Classes. We're no stranger to a class system in this country. But we have our own way of doing things, so it's only natural that we switch to using upper class instead of class. Public obviously should become state. Private actually still works, so we just keep private. If it's not broken, don't fix it. Protected becomes hereditary, obviously. We've got a few kind of miscellaneous ones. There are other changes that you can find on the GitHub repo. We don't have cookies in this country. Post, server, and exit. So the cookie has been replaced, obviously, with biscuit. Post is Royal Mail, obviously, until that gets ruined and gets replaced with like Yodel or something. Server becomes Butler, and obviously, I'm sorry, but exit becomes Brexit. There is one thing worth noting, though. If you do actually download this, there is currently a bug with the Brexit function, and if you try and use it, your program will go into an infinite loop. I'm working on fixing it, but it's still an active issue. So you can download the compiler on GitHub. You can feel free to report all of the issues that you will probably find because it has been tested quite briefly. You can find me on LinkedIn if you have any questions. I am on other social media, but I don't really use them, so I probably won't respond. And yeah, there's a QR code to download the repo. Thank you very much.